Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope you're doing well. We're continuing our deep dive into this radical feminist book. We are becoming very familiar with their philosophy, and I have refuted much in here. Also gotten to see what it is they hold dear, and seen that they have some valid points in other areas as well. So, to begin, she was mentioning how female sexual bargaining power. Okay. She mentioned sexual libertines and cultural conservatives. We're on that thread. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let's continue. Women, in other words, are not entitled to respect, care, or consideration. Straight men are entitled to all of this and more. So here already you can see the bizarreness of such a statement. Islam does tell you to have good manners and respect towards your wife. Christianity as well. Okay. And for her to say that only straight men are entitled to it, you begin to think, okay, what's the deal with always getting mad at people who are not into sodomy? I find this to be very odd. Why does she think that if you commit sodomy, all of a sudden you are totally above the fray and are so super good? I wonder what her obsession is with the anus and poop. Recent studies showed that higher levels of belief in male entitlement predict greater sexism in both men and women. Men and boys often grow up marinated in the assumption that they are owed certain things from women, not individual women, but women in general. Well, we women have the same, don't we? Men are to provide, they are to protect, give you spending money, grant you intimacy, protect your children's, financial future in terms of a will. So, men owe women in general stability in society and to enlist in the war to protect the homeland. And male police officers, they need to lay down the law and protect the community, right? Now, she isn't saying anything about how in sub-Saharan Africa, the men in villages have a certain role. She only focuses on white, straight Christian males, and really doesn't mention Muslim Arabs or Muslim blacks. And this is how you can see she's not very genuine, but she has a very bigoted angle in my opinion. But also, it's been quite clear in her book, as I've mentioned. They have a right to sexual and romantic attention from at least one woman for the duration of their adult lives. A right? That sounds a bit rapey, but there's a natural... Okay, so hold on, I'm going to compare something here. You'll see women on TikTok. I follow a lot of accounts that show this. They're like, why does no man want me? I waited too long. I'm doing IVF, in vitro fertilization, whatever. Oh, no one wants me. What's wrong with me? Where are all the good men at? These women feel entitled to have a provider man after they've become single moms, right? And some of them chose to leave their relationship, sadly, and they think they can do better before actually getting the better target. And there are tons of women who grew up like me in the Disney generation where you saw princesses get their Prince Charming. A lot of little girls think about getting married and playing house when they're little. It's adorable. I did the same. My grandma had me a little kitchen set, and I had Barbies, took off a lot of their heads, but I still played marriage stuff. Like, oh, they're married, they're cute, they're this, they're that. So, we both have that tendency, I'd argue, to feel like we are owed a relationship. It's just natural. It's just natural for us. And I don't see anything wrong with that. Until they begin to get, till they think that they can assault somebody. That's where you draw the line. But unfortunately, I've also seen women assault men, physically and intimate wise. When they drink, they grab in men's crotches, they slap them, spit on them, and they feel like they can get away with it. So actually, I think we should lay down the law just as equal for women. If a man cannot go up to you and grope your breast and butt, then you cannot go to him and do that either. And yes, if he's a muscle guy and you go and touch his muscles against his consent, these guys got to start pressing charges. Why, you're enabling the women to have the double-edged sword. Alhamdulillah for Islam, we're not about that. If you obey the rules, no free mixing, male chaperones, right? We have rules that protect us. But again, liberals have a very backwards way of thinking. They're entitled to pleasure, comfort, and emotional caretaking. Oh, the irony. Oh, the irony. Okay, so she's making it sound like, how dare we be entitled to give men pleasure, aka intimacy in marriage? How dare we make the home comfortable for them, and how dare we have to listen to their problems and care about them? I want you to think about them. Oh, okay. How many women say, I left him because he wasn't meeting my emotional needs? I hear this a lot. And you look at when a woman is in her pregnancy and postpartum period, those 2 years, she has a lot of complaints about her husband, that he wasn't meeting her emotional needs in the time where she was the most emotional, right? If a man said, honey, you're not entitled to comfort. I'm not getting you a breastfeeding pillow. I'm not going to get you your favorite Chinese takeout. I'm not going to give you fuzzy slippers. I'm not going to hear your emotions and let you cry on my shoulder. I don't need to comfort you. The woman would call that abuse. She would call it emotional abuse and financial abuse. So do unto others as you want them to do unto you. You need to make sure that you're treating someone with the same level of respect you want reciprocated. Yes, you need to give your husband pleasure, and it's only the most difficult when, like I said, you're pregnant, you're in your postpartum period, when the children are younger than 2. After that, I don't see any excuse, because the kids are more independent. They can color, and they're sleeping through the night. It's way more harder when they're not sleeping through the night, and when you're chasing a toddler around who, is exploring the world. Way more taxing on the mind, right? It's just so selfish, these types of lines. They don't have to do anything to earn this consideration. It's their birthright. If they don't get it, they are entitled to riot, to lash out, to punish. Well, actually, you do have to earn it by getting the relationship. Once you get the relationship, you are... I keep trying to get this lint thing. It doesn't come off, see? Doesn't. It's a pretty old niqab, so it's losing its color. But you don't have to say, oh, I have a right to this to you, woman. If it gets to that level, you need to find another way to get get your wife to reciprocate the attention. Little things go a long way. I can't. There's a saying, I could bring a horse to water, but I can't make it drink. There's a finesse, there's a style to getting what you want without just declaring it. That's what relationships are. Trying to get the most out of each other without them feeling oppressed. It's weird when you take a feminist's points and then you flip it and then they're like, ugh, what? So what she's getting at here, like, men are entitled to pleasure, comfort, and emotional caretaking. How you can... There's so much I want to say, but you can tell her father clearly wasn't really loving towards her mom, and obviously the mom didn't have that loving relationship. That's why it's so important, man. Oh, So people gotta have examples of healthy women and healthy men because it's so motivational. When you got a bitter, witchy, cold-hearted wench trying to tell you how to treat a man, you're gonna run into so many problems. If you think to yourself, being emotionally available to your husband is emotional caretaking, that's sad. Because they'll be like if his dad dies in a car crash, Allah protect us, or he's struggling, it doesn't mean he falls on the ground and cries like a soy boy, but it means that you understand how to navigate him when he's bearing a heavy burden on his soul, right? And you need to let him go with his male counterparts for counsel, and know how to give him his space and know when to say, are you okay? Like, you have to know that balance. It's so rude how she talks. As psyches and certainties shrivel, and the heat of the age, gender and sex become more and more frightened with anxiety. The desire to prove oneself a real man, to become loved and powerful through access to women's bodies, and the almighty F becomes more frantic, more all-consuming, more blinkered. The more men believe that they must have a woman in their life, that they are owed a woman in their life, the crueler they become. Okay. That they must have a woman in their life. Okay. So this chick, she hates heterosexuality, which means she hates what Allah loves. And she hates the nuclear family. And she hates true masculinity and true femininity and the proper, pure household. Okay? She hates it. So you have to see this from an occultic angle. The MGTOW guys, they say men going their own way. Rejecting marriage, rejecting relationships. Their intimacy is with their hand, and eventually they hope to have robots, right? Which they are actually making. So, she thinks it's bad that men feel that they should have a woman in their life. So, when we say red pill is the opposite of feminism, but just for the sexes, right? So red pill is feminism, maleism for men. Did you see what I'm trying to get at? They have a similar way of hating the other gender, right? Seeing them not as necessary. So for a feminist to get mad at a man for wanting to have a woman in his life, how is she pro-woman? If men stopped wanting relationships, we wouldn't have children and we'd have to be working in the labor force. How many women want to have a man take care of them and be able to stay home and have children? Literally millions of women for thousands of years have wanted that. But this feminist thinks it's bad that men want that. She would prefer them be homosexuals. So staying with sodomy and being sterile and getting poop on themselves and not having the wonderful experience of watching their wives' pregnant belly grow and having that spiritual connection. She doesn't see that as beautiful or remarkable. She thinks it's bad that men want that. These are the women who are training your daughters. These are the women who are teaching girls to take off their breasts and take testosterone and remove their cervix. This is what you're dealing with. She is not a helper of women. This is quite clear. You want men to pursue women and for marriage and to want to provide them with housing, health care, best food possible, spiritual guidance, protection, right? I keep pointing to the Last of Us situation because you can see in a real scenario like that how important men are to protect you from other men. And when you see men who are able to grab women, like today I saw a video of a woman getting kidnapped at a gas station. How quickly the man was able to overpower the woman. And I also saw another video where 16-year-old farm boys were able to outlift a female bodybuilder. And she was bulky like a dude. It was disgusting. I want you to think about the permanent strength differences. So, we women need men. And a robot is not going to be the same as a man loving you and protecting you. Okay? You have to be so careful with these women. For men, romantic love has long been understood as a feeling that they can be experienced by one person alone, projected relentlessly onto the scrim of another person's skin, feeling that entitles a man to a certain claim on the object of his adoration. If he decides he is in love with you, that means you owe him something. This has been happening for hundreds of years. Early in Don Quixote, Cervantes recreates it perfectly in Marcella's speech. I had a feeling she was going to bring up Don Quixote, because Don Quixote is a very funny book, but it has chivalry and the romanticism in it, which is quite cute. But let's see how she tries to take that and spins it into something negative. Heaven made me, you say, so lovely that my beauty makes you love me, despite yourselves. And in return for the love you show me, you claim and even demand that I should be bound to love you. I know by the natural sense which God has given me, that whatever is beautiful is lovable, but I do not understand why, merely because she inspires love, a woman who is loved for her beauty is obliged to love the man who loves her. No, okay. Women will love a man and they'll go crazy if they know he doesn't love her. Women will cut themselves, mutilate themselves. It's absolutely wild. If a man says, if she loves him and the man tells her to her face, I don't love you, she will literally bawl her eyes out, cry, get drunk, take pills, and freak out, stab his tires. She will spiral out of control. But the second a man says, if I love you, I want you to love me too, so I'm not your slave. Oh, now you've gone too far, you're oppressing me. This is what is really wrong with the feminist morality. Okay? Because you want everything for yourself and nothing for the man. It's pure evil. Pure evil. Okay? Now, in your heart, you may not love the man, but you have to show respect to somebody if you marry them. If some guy approaches me at a gas station, and he's like, I love you, baby. And I'm like, who the hell are you? Like, I don't owe you nothing. And in fact, if you get closer, there's going to be a problem. Right? So, no. A guy who you've not consented in a relationship with, you owe him zero in terms of love. But if you marry a man, even if you don't love him, you should never tell him that. That's a form of abuse. Because if a woman loves a guy, she's infatuated with him, and she's like, do you love me? Do you love me? Tell me, do you love me? A lot of men will lie. Yeah, baby, I love you, I love you. You know, he may like you, he may tolerate you, he may have loved you at one point and fell out of it, but he should never tell you. It'll destroy the woman. She'll destroy herself. And she will then go sleep with like 5 guys. There are tons of women that have a love. They find out he doesn't love her. How does she get revenge? She literally has a hoe phase, they call it. And she will go sleep with a bunch of random guys in order to fill the void in her heart to get over and become more angry and cruel. So, remember, if you don't want to love him, don't marry him. And if you fall out of love with him, you don't tell him. You don't make him miserable. And if you divorce, you leave. But if you stay, you show respect. No one deserves to be emotionally abused in their marriage. Have some respect. In her book, Down Girl, the philosopher Kate Maine explains that the logic of misogyny is predicated on the moral goods that women are supposed to owe men, including sex, care, child rearing, and domestic labor. Okay. Let's break this down. Okay, sex. Why would you marry someone if you don't want to have intimacy? I'm always going to keep harboring this because it's the only thing that makes sense. 2 years. The pregnancy, and then when the child's up to 1 year old. That's the difficult part. Okay? Your hormones, your mood, your body, your strength, your sleep levels, your energy are all depleted. Okay? Your body is trying to grow a human, and each woman has a difficult time in a unique way. I understand if things slow down, and a man has to be patient. Alright? But after that, you know, if you need to lose weight, you know, you need someone to help you, there's a way. There's a way. Because, hold on, because women will say men will have intimacy with everything like a dog. Then they'll turn around and say men have too high standards. So which is it? Do they move in? Do they have sex with anything that walks? Or do they have too high standards? Okay? Intimacy is part of a relationship, and there's a man should not oppress a woman with his demands. But you should know his personality as well. Some men need more than others. Some men will have to be patient. Some women will have to have communication with what they like. Care. Okay, so if he gets injured and he's sick, why aren't you going to care about him? That's a very evil thing to look at, but he should care about you? So if you broke your ankle and you'd help go into the bathroom, he should say, why should I care about you? You don't care about me. Now look what we've done. Child rearing. I have a picture I'm going to post on the community tab or on my blog. I'm not sure which place I want to post it yet. But it was of a Chinese daycare. All these kids are teeny tiny tots. And they're all like in their beds under fake fluorescent lights, being fed like milk in a bottle. And it's like all those kids in an artificial setting, raised by, you know, a teacher while their mom works. And then I compare that to my children spending all the time with me, and I get to see every beautiful thing about them growing up, their giggles, I get to see pattern recognitions. I don't have to be at work. I'm retired, and I get to spend time with them. It can be hard some days, like when the toddler, will take my books off my bookshelf and put them in a pile. It can be irritating, but they're just books. She ripped the cover off of one, so I just had to use clear tape and tape it back on, you know, so it's alright. That's only a temporary phase. It's only a temporary phase. The older they get, they learn their own things, and they'll be fine. It's no big deal. So child rearing is difficult on some days more than others, but children belong with their moms. Domestic labor, she mentions. Clean up after yourself. Don't be a hoarder. So if you don't do domestic labor, and he can't afford to pay somebody, you both will help. Like if you both are working, you both help. But if you stay home and your children are over to the age of 2, I don't see the necessity for it, because the kids start to learn chores. My eldest has chores: take out recycle, sweep by the bird cage, the bin where we put the diapers, like, you know, the doggy bags you use to clean up poo. When I change my little one's diaper, it goes in a green biodegradable bag. I tie it in a knot. It goes into another bag, and then when that bag's full, all you gotta do is pull the strings, tie it, and she takes it out to the trash. She has chores, okay? Sweeping the kitchen right after her sister eats. Sometimes she'll put pasta, like a noodle, on the ground or whatever, a cracker, you name it, and I'll be like, hey, I'm gonna move the high chair, and then you gotta sweep over here, okay? Like, you can teach your kids chores. They have to learn to clean up after themselves, or you're gonna get cockroaches, mice, bed bugs, basically insect infestations, okay? I see women now on TikTok, they post their mess of their home, and it's disgusting. Don't be a freaking slob, alright? So when they say domestic labor, okay, if you're not gonna do it, you're gonna live in filth with your children, woman? What makes you think you don't have to clean up after yourself? And men are not that messy, I'm sorry. And if you have intimacy with a man who's a pig, you chose him. You chose him. You attracted him. You are the problem, because you had intimacy with him and you chose him. Now you're complaining about his habits at home? No. I mean, maybe I'm just lucky, blessed by Allah, but my husband is not a slob. My husband is very clean. And he'll take out trash. Sometimes I'll be cooking something, and if I make like a huge feast, like I made bread, I made a pastry, and there's extra dishes that I haven't finished, he'll help me out. You know, I'll make his favorite meal. He'll show some romanticism by washing a pot or something. Acts of service, right? So we help each other. However, when it comes to laundry, I do my own, he does his own, and we taught our eldest to do her own. We go with her, obviously, but she knows how to put the quarters in the machine, how to put the laundry soap. She folds her own clothes. And the youngest, she's learned, like when I'm putting my clothes on my bed, she goes into the basket and takes out the shirt. Like, she's so cute. So even the littlest one helps all of us out to put our laundry away. So what else is there really? You see what I'm saying? You just want to, like, you're not cleaning a castle. If you want to own a house, hello, you got a lot of responsibilities. Okay? Period. You gotta, you chose to live in a house. Okay? You're gonna have to take care of it. That's life. Wherever you live, you make it nice. And that's just the way a feminine mind should go. And if you don't want to do domestic labor and you hire a maid and you hire a nanny, what are you gonna be doing all day? What are you gonna be doing with your brain? Shopping? Getting into credit card debt? A lot of the women get themselves into trouble because their hands aren't busy. They're not, like me, I read in my free time. These women, are they going to be reading while they're not cooking and cleaning? If I can take care of my children, cook and clean and read and pray, what's your excuse? And I have no help. So if you got all that help, what you going to do that's going to benefit humanity or benefit your brain? If you're just going to put on 2 hours worth of makeup and then go walk around the mall and spend your husband's money and your money on shit you don't need, what have you done productive? Why is that better than you making the oven look nice? See what I'm saying? Laziness is the problem. You think you're a princess you think you're a lady in Downton Abbey. But even a Princess Kate, she has to go to meetings. She has to represent her nation. She's doing actual work. The palace is maintained, and Nanny's raising her kids, but she doesn't just get to sit down on pillows all day and drink wine and get drunk and have orgies. That's not how any queen has been able to operate in public. Princess Diana, she's a class act. Hello, like, she was traveling, she was talking about women's issues. You know, she may have not done domestic labor or child rearing, but she wasn't a princess who literally was a caricature. She had to do it like a lot of work. I don't think so. I wouldn't want to do all that work. I gotta go talk to people and shake hands? Go meet with a foreign dignitary? Are you insane? No. I can simply have my nice tea and eat a cheese Danish and watch my kids play with their toys. Part of the unspoken bargain here is that women are not permitted to ask for these things themselves, no matter how much they may want or need them. What women are meant to get out of this increasingly unclear, but there's usually some hand waving about protection, provision, and having someone around to get lids off jars. Hand waving? That's literally what I did. How dare you? Okay, so mocking protection. I've lived in some dangerous places. I've seen people get shot at. I have seen people do some very reckless things. And Earth is a violent place. My husband is my bodyguard. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, you betcha. Provision? Yes, he must provide nutrition for me and my children. Okay? Has to be done. He even provides the bird food for my birds. You know? How sweet is that? he gets me all the little treats I want, and I love him for it. If I want to have a night off from cooking, I can give me some egg rolls, get me some chow mein. That's what I love. If I want to buy truffle oil, he'll buy me the truffle oil. If I want to get, everything organic, that's what he does. I love that. He bought me a wok. That's one of the most special gifts I've ever wanted. Okay? It took him a while to get it because, we didn't have the money, but he remembered. And he came to me and said, "Do you want me to buy you the wok you were talking about?" And I said, "Yes." And he bought it for me. And there was a time I wanted a casserole because I was getting really into casseroles and I needed a new casserole dish. And he bought me one. And then he knows I like to get handmade ceramic stuff. And it's more expensive. And I would ask him, "Can I get this please?" And he'd be like, "Why?" And I'd be like, "Because I like it and it's pretty." He's like, "Okay." And I'm supporting a small business, I'd tell him, and an artisan. And he'd do it. That's provision. That's provision. And I appreciate that. If he tells me no and he's a miser, and I gotta go ask other people, that's not good. And someone ran to get the lids off jars. I literally, yesterday, the sugar from the maple syrup that we have, I put it under hot water and it wouldn't come off. And I couldn't get the lid off. I literally couldn't get the lid off. I was really pissed off. And before he was going to work, he's getting his jacket on, and I was like, "Can you open this, please?" And he's like, and I'm like, "Yes." Because when you got a muscle man, their veins, they got that strong grip. Choke a lion. So yes, getting the lids off the jars is important. Otherwise, I gotta stab the lid, and I gotta try to turn it, and then I gotta cut an awkward, sharp hole in the top of the lid if I can't get it open. Ridiculous. Ruin my knives. According to Maine, society separates souls, along with the gender binary, into human beings and human givers. Men are allowed to be human beings who can act on and in the world, and women are expected to be human givers, the ones whose lives are defined in relation to what they can do. Hello, men owe us a better life. Okay? So I'm gonna say, what can you do for me? When I'm gonna go in a relationship, I think, what can this man do for me? And then he's thinking, what can she do for me? Nothing wrong with that. Okay? I chose my man because he's sober. I can't stand men who drink. You try it, they drink, and you're like, "No, I'm not arguing with a drunk person. Not into it." The smell of beer on the breath is one of the most disgusting smells ever. Okay? And worrying about them while they're out drinking, they cheating on you, they're gonna get hit by a car. No. So what a man can do for you, bring you peace of mind, food security, quality health insurance, okay, retire me from the workforce, okay, and in return he'll get something because I'm not selfish. My employer, where I'm working, you give me a check, I will make sure to do every rule you said, right? I'll be on time, I won't cause drama with the coworkers, I won't be mean to your customers so they want to come back. I'll get the best service possible. You gave me a job, you pay me per hour, I'm going to do that job. So naturally with my husband, you do this, I'll do this. And Allah is going to record every good deed. I'm going to give a reward for that. Treating your partner well is a good thing. And B, oh man, this woman is she's a test, man. And B, for others. This is how the logic of heterosexuality is still phrased. So let's pause here. If you look at gay male relationships, especially the wealthy ones, you can't tell me that gay men demand more in terms of materialism than straight men. Straight men, they can have a mattress on the floor, the PlayStation, and maybe a workout bench. Men are pretty simple to please. You get a rural, because I got me a village guy, but you get you a rural, masculine, high testosterone, high sperm count male. They're literally happy with lifting weights, working and eating, and stuff like that. You know, it's like they're like a giant bull, and you just pet their head, and you're like, I love this giant, strong bull. You know, they are like this, like a Clydesdale horse, like a bull, like just this, I don't know, a specimen, right? You are a specimen. And you can see that they don't need very much. They don't need very much. The more feminine the man, the more he needs. Gay men are the ones that, oh, I need they wear makeup. They have their eyebrows all weird. The best looking watches. The more fancy pants the guy, the more he's probably on the spectrum of sexuality. Right? Some people may disagree with me, but I see it as a pretty boy who's like done something, has like a fancy fade, and you know, he's heavily perfumed. You're just like, you're getting a little bit fruity, you know. A heterosexual man has a bit of a ruggedness to him. There's dirt on his boots. That's why I never really liked the city guys with the cars super shiny, their shoes are shiny, you know, they almost look like they have lip gloss on, their beard is all pencily. You're like, if you're looking more pretty than me, that's a problem. A rugged man who, like, his hands got a little bit of the calluses, you know, he's still groomed, but he's got a bit of scruffiness to him. He's got a little bit of meanness in his face, you know. Looks like he could bite the head off of a snake. That's what I'm talking about. So, I don't agree with her, you know. They're so easy to please, in my opinion. But if you get an alcoholic, a drug addict, a pretty boy, city boy, you're gonna have a different problem. You know, you're gonna have a problem. Women owe men a range of services, including sex, attention, emotional caretaking, and domestic care. She mentioned that earlier, remember? So like the paragraph. And men owe us that. You need to give me attention. I posted on my blog, girls who were deleting their husband's gaming accounts because they didn't give him enough attention. And the men, they film their husbands freaking out. You deleted my game! And they throw their controller and they're freaking out because they put so much money and hour and effort into it. And if he was to delete her Instagram, she would freak out too, call it abuse, right? Girls, when they lose their Instagram, whether it's just their booty pics, they freak out. Like, if you're posting like food and education and nature stuff, I'd feel bad for you if you lost your account because you put so much real work into it. Showing your butt is not work, but they feel like they've lost all those followers and they gotta start again, right? So women expect attention from men, and when they don't get it, they act out. And a lot of women cheat because they'll say, he didn't give me enough attention because he was always at work. And you're like, okay, you want money and you don't want to do house chores, which distract you and keep you busy. You sit around on your phone and get bored, and then the devil comes. You start thinking about intimacy, you slide in the DMs of somebody, and now you're cheating. You know, a man cannot be your court jester. He can't entertain you all day and go and work and make money. You have to know how to entertain yourself with hobbies and healthy habits. You know, you can't. So women expect attention. So for her to pretend like women don't expect that from men, it causes a lot of problems. Immature women are very needy with the male attention. It's wild. Okay? And women will literally ask men to do domestic care of mowing the lawn, shoveling the snow. Okay? The harder stuff, building the shed, stuff like that. Like, if you have property, you want the man to go out there and take care of it. Do you want to be out there pulling up weeds with your little fake dinosaur nails and your eyelashes and your 1,000 pounds of makeup laboring under the sun? Oh, I'll pay someone to do it. Yeah, but you would like it if your husband did it. You know, there's something nice about watching your man get a little dirty, doing something masculine. Like, I saw my husband fixing the vacuum, and that was like, it was nice. It's like this, wow, you're fixing the vacuum. You know, like taking the screws, checking the thing because it wasn't working. Instead of having to take it to a repair shop or, buy another one, he can fix it. Hello? I don't want to do it. All that dust and I don't want to do it, But he did it. He don't care. Me, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it. I can't read if I have to fix the vacuum. Something. My husband, he's like, I'll fix the vacuum, no problem. You go read. And I'm like, yes. So, you see? It's these women, these feminists, they're so out of touch. Men are entitled to expect these things from women, and women are entitled to expect them in return. That's just not... If you're dealing with an incel who's on Twitter, and he's a porn addict, and he's very bitter at women, maybe. Or if you're dating a pimp. But look at... You... It's all about what you accept. From the start, whoever I was dating, there was always seemed to be some reason I owed him. At 15, he was generous enough to date me. You dating at 15, girl. At 19, it was because I was at fancy college, and he worked in town and drank in the evenings. At 20, it was because I was able-bodied and he was not, because I had the energy to find work and he did not. So, yeah, here it is. She chose a bum who didn't want to provide for her, so she became masculine and bitter and resentful. I was able-bodied and he was not, because I had energy to find work and he didn't. She is so low class. She chose a bum who was like, I don't have the energy, babe. Like, you gotta go pay the rent, babe. Like, you gotta go get a job. You see? She tells on herself. Of course she doesn't like domestic labor and child rearing and intimacy because she has a man who doesn't stimulate her. She doesn't see the connection. She doesn't see it. If you got a man who's just fully taken care, he's on point, he makes you feel safe, he's your Joel, he's your Khabib, you're gonna feel great, And if he's not that, you work for it, or you move on, or you deal with it because you chose him. You chose him. And you attracted him. And you accepted him. Accountability. At 24, it was because he was working class and I was not. At 26 and 28 and 29, it was because I had a writing job and a small amount of public recognition and he did not. Or because it seemed like I was coping emotionally and he was not, or because. 29. Here we go. She's telling on herself. So, she must... Okay, she doesn't say if she's married in the book, but she's single at 29. Okay? This is why women have to be very careful who you take your role modelship from. Okay? Now, I'm a bit biased. I had my first child in my early 20s. Mom had me in early 20s. My grandma had her first child at 14. Now, I'm not telling everyone to do that, obviously, because she was not a good mom because she was so young. But the point I'm trying to make is, when you are 18 and you're between 22, you're way more strong to have children. I see plenty of memes on mommy Instagram where we're like, children in your 30s, your bones are popping. I can't believe how much my knees pop now. I always have an ache somewhere in my spine, my neck. I'm like, I feel old. Totally different. When I was 22, I'm like, yeah, like, let's do this. I really regret not having my kids in my 20s. I could have had way more, but I did focus on school and learning. But alhamdulillah, got my second. Inshallah, I can have more. But it's not going to be as easy in terms of energy. Okay? So her, at 29, who chose loser dudes, and she mentioned she gave it up real quick within the first or to second, third date, and that men were put off by her promiscuity energy, you can see she's made some mistakes. Instead of saying that she should have changed, she's blaming the patriarchy, she's blaming Christianity, and she's blaming white men. Very important to recognize, okay? wow, we have really dug into this book. She's proving the stereotypes that I've seen in the forums and posts of other rad femmes. So that's good that we're seeing the truth of their philosophy and connecting the dots. Because then they can't say we're strawmanning them, right? When you read their actual texts, they can't lie to you and say, you just don't understand, you just don't get it. And you're like, actually, I have taken the time, the tediousness to understand it, and I still reject it. Because some of them will say, well, you just haven't read about it, that's why you reject it. And it's like, actually, no. So, it's juicy. Got a lot of meat in this book. When I finish it, I hope I can find another one. Because I still want to keep... I haven't found... Because, like, they're modern philosopher feminists. They're not smarter. Sorry. They're average. Like, they could write for the New York Times. They're not Aristotle. I want to see... I'm on the hunt for, like, their best philosopher. Because I want to put my mind to the test. Right? She is not a philosopher. She's a woke-tardian. And that provides us enough meat to kind of chew on, I'd argue, which is kind of what we want. If she was just cliche, there wouldn't really be anything there because it would be too easy. I like to read books that give me a challenge. Now, she hasn't given me a super hard challenge, but she's presented her thoughts clearly to where you can interact with them. So that's a benefit. Remember, these are the women online. These are the women who are in your schools, who are growing. So it's important for us Muslims to study them, to learn them. And the internet can bring it to your place anywhere in the world. So putting your head in the sand, doesn't defeat them. You have to actually know what their agenda is and then act accordingly, right? So let me know what you think. What was your favorite part? What are some of your ideas? By the way, I'm still fundraising for my book holder and the wooden panel. That'd be great if you could help with that. And if you'd like to join the blog and see longer refutations that I do, they're all on there. And www.subscribestar.com/MilahanArchive. That's the site. I always link it down. But take care, fam, and see you later.